the Chaos Dwarfs are coming to town. And with it, they're bringing a massive roster of a ton of different units, offering a lot of versatility to this army. And a lot of the things that have been kicking around lately are the Chaos Dwarfs overpowered? And in this video today, I'm going to kind of go through that, and I'm going to give you my opinion. No, they are not overpowered. They're very strong individually. I think while looking at them in a vacuum, looking at the campaign footage that we've seen, or this most recent battle embargo, I think that it's very easy to think that the Chaos Dwarfs are going to have a massive amount of power creep. I think there's going to be a bit of power creep, and I definitely think that, and as I've said many, many times, this does point a more glaring light at the dwarfs, but I think by looking at what we're going to look at in this video, it kind of helps frame how the dwarf roster is different from the Chaos Dwarf roster. And even though it doesn't feel as powerful as some of the units on their own, like comparing the Chaos Dwarf Warriors to the Dwarf Warriors, you'll find that the dwarf roster still very much has a home in what it does. So in this video, we're going to go through the actual roster on the actual battle screen. And then we're going to jump into some of the campaign stuff from the Drazoeth campaign reveal. I unfortunately cannot show off any campaign stuff until April 5th. So a lot of this is going to be conjecture. I personally have not even looked at the campaign. I do have access to it, obviously, but I haven't done it. I want to do it with you guys alongside to kind of get a good idea of how it plays. So, we're going to jump into that here. If you've not yet pre-ordered the DLC, you can use my Creative Assembly link to get a discount as well as help support the channel. And also don't forget to follow me on Twitch. When this video goes live, about 3 hours after, I'll be going live with the Chaos Dwarf DLC, showing off some of the battles and just basically doing audience requests for testing and stuff like that. So please do jump on over to that. You can find both those links in the description and the pinned comment. Let's dive in here on whether or not the Chaos Dwarfs are overpowered. So here we are with the Chaos Dwarf roster. And again, looking at this, you can think, man, these are so strong. Like looking at these Chaos Dwarf Warriors, they're burly, 30 melee attack, 44 melee defense. The Infernal Ironsworn having 10 more hit points per model, with a total of 1,000 more than your Iron Breakers, throwing AP missile damage. Like they are very, very, very good. You have your blunderbusses, which are great. You get these fire glaives, which are awesome. All these individual units and models are very good. By the way, like hot take, the Bull Centaurs are like the strongest thing in the roster as far as complementing everything. But the points value is what I really want you to look at. And this, of course, is not in consideration of campaign, right? Like I'm not sure what the upkeep and the cost is of recruiting a Chaos Dwarf Warrior unit or an Infernal Guard or an Infernal Ironsworn. Those things are all going to be discovered on the 5th, and we'll have plenty of time to talk about that. But if I'm looking at this from purely a multiplayer standpoint, this is not an easy army to field. You can go very wide with the dwarfs. You cannot with the Chaos Dwarfs. Let's go ahead and set this over to funds of default. At 12,000 funds, let's just go ahead and take Drazoeth. Let's strip off all of his spells, all of his items, put him on a Cinder Breath, and take off his abilities. That's still a 2,100 point Lord. I only have 10,000 points to play with at that point, and I'm still going to probably want some of those items, some of those abilities, and some of those spells. Even taking a look at your Naked Overseer, which to be honest is really not that great, is 1,000 points. So it's a challenge to really field a decent army. So let's take a Naked Overseer here, which, I mean, if you think of a true Naked Overseer, that'd be a terrifying sight. And let's say we're playing against the actual dwarfs. Let's make somewhat of an army, right? And we'll do like, I don't know, like we'll take in some Dwarf Warriors with great weapons. We'll take some Orc Laborers because they've got AP damage. Maybe even another one here. Maybe let's get a Bull Centaur here with dual axes because they're going to really punch hard. And, you know, I'd love to do a lot of damage with the Dreadquake Mortar. We're down to 4,600 points. I don't have any ranged yet. And here's things to consider with the ranged. 120 range on the Hobgoblin Archers. Or 130, sorry, that was increased from the campaign stuff. So 130 range, they're just going to get picked apart by everything in the dwarf roster before they can get in range. Because they don't have stock, so they're going to get shot off the board. Then my dwarf blunderbusses, the range is 90, and I don't know if you've seen the way that these blunderbusses shoot. They will shoot regardless of what is in front of them, and they will absolutely decimate them. So unless you're on a really good hill with the blunderbusses, they are going to kill your entire army. So the other things you've got here are the other blunderbuss unit, which I mean, same, right? You got 90 range. But even jumping to Fireglaives, if I wanted to take 2 Fireglaives here, which are to be totally honest, they're very awesome units. I absolutely love what they can do, especially they basically shoot las guns, if you've heard them, like that. It's really, really cool. And okay, so we're at 2100. I could probably squeeze in some Dwarf Warriors for a nice front line, but I really can't get any more here. Maybe we ditch out one of these guys. We already have a Dreadquake Mortar. Let's put in, like, just say a Blunderbusser and 2 more of these. I mean, that's a decently wider army than I would expect. These guys have terrible leadership and no armor, though. So you got to really consider that. We didn't even put, like, another hero in. So let's, you know what? Let's drop a Blunderbuss, drop one of these, and we'll get, you know what? We'll get this guy and make him naked. Again, just for point conservation purposes, right? And there we go. And we could probably even drop one more and get some sneaky gets because they've got AP. Shit, like, man, I just screwed myself right there. It's not as easy as I wanted it to be. I'll just throw some other stuff in there. So going particularly wide with the Chaos Dwarfs is not very easy. In my head, I'm like, yeah, that's what I think that's a little bit better. But and I really don't have a ton of punching power. And this is, so what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is 15 units in here. If I'm playing the Dwarfs by comparison, let's go with just a Naked Lord. Strip him down, and we'll take a Runesmith. And I know you would choose things here, but that's a thing. Whoopsies. I was like, where are his runes? We know we would choose runes here, but I'm just saying, like, for the sake of making this as bare bones as possible, we're stripping this guy down, right? And that right there is a pretty, those guys are super lean. Super lean. We have about 1,000 points more than we would if we were the Chaos Dwarfs in this scenario. And I can go ahead and fill this with these guys, and then I can get in 2 units of Thunderers. You know what? I'm even going to throw in some Quarrelers into this. We're going to get 2 cannons into here. Let's just get spicy and throw in like a Rangers with great weapons, because why the hell not? Let's also throw in an Ironbreaker, and let's get some Longbeards with great weapons, because they're better Chaos or better Dwarf Warriors, and they get great weapons, so we can crack things open. Well, you know what? We're playing against them. Maybe they've got some bonus versus large. We need some bonus versus large. Okay, boom, we're good. You know what? Let's actually bring that back and bring in a 3rd cannon. So the capability to field a very wide army here. I mean, we've got 300 points left over. I can even kind of, okay, Oath and Seal, Wrath and Ruin. Let's just go, you know what, with a Naked Lord, I'd probably even just go like this and that'd be done. Something like that. We're a little bit over, but we'll knock these guys down to just 1 Quarreler, and that puts us at, like, there. That'll do, pig. Bow Seeker, for whatever reason. I'm trying to make a point here. But still, look how wide this army is. But not even how wide this army is, but how effective this army is by comparison. The Chaos Dwarfs just cannot field a really strong, wide army when it comes to, like, a Dwarf on Chaos Dwarf battle, right? You need heavier hitting AP power. The only thing that have AP in this army are right here. And we do obviously have them with the Orc Laborers, but again, 0 armor, 36 leadership. These guys are going to just buckle. And we do have AP too with the Bull Centaurs, but it's just not reliable AP. Versus our Dwarf military, we have our great weapons, we have our Thunderers, we have our cannons. These things now throw grenades, which have a whole different splash damage. I mean, I could even strip out some of these Dwarf Warriors and just go with a full entire Dwarf Warriors with great weapons line. And we're at 18 units without really dropping behind our power curve here. So it's really worth noting that the Chaos Dwarf military is really good and really strong, but it is extremely pricey. This is not something you can just simply jump into and just throw fisticuffs. If I wanted to really have this army have a cool lord, okay, let's just take Cinder Breath. We'll take this bad boy. Just to kind of, I don't know, spice this thing up a little bit. And we'll take 2 spells. We'll go Ash Storm and Hellhammer, because we'll have a big little line, right? This thing's actually pretty damn good too. I mean, we just lost the Dreadquake Mortar. we got a guy on Cinder Breath who can be shot apart by the 3 cannons or the 2 sets of Thunderers, tons of ways to really kind of pour damage into Drazoeth, and we really didn't get that much more staying power in the army. We did get the ability to cast spells, period. We didn't have that a second ago. But my point still is that going with the Chaos Dwarf army, you're looking at very heavily priced units. And if I compare the Infernal Guard to the Longbeards, the Longbeards aren't that much worse, and they're 300 points cheaper. So that's a very significant drop in points. Even looking at the Dwarf Warriors to Chaos Dwarf Warriors, they are... What am I looking at? Oh, oops. Clicked the wrong one. Okay, these guys, the Chaos Dwarf Warriors with Dwarf Warriors, they have less melee attack, less melee defense, and less weapon strength. But those 200 points, I can just field 2 more and then put plenty of other things in the army to deal with the stronger Chaos Dwarf Warriors. So the power creep is there. It's on an individual basis, right? Like I think honestly, if I was truly building this army out, I'd go something like that and maybe even like scrap this dude, because these Bull Centaurs are very good. They are very good. They have an impressive skill set. So I do not feel that the Chaos Dwarfs are beyond approach when it comes to multiplayer. I think that they are very strong, and I think that they are very counterable because you can do plenty of things against them. And I think that, I mean, just taking into consideration their way their ranged works, with 90 being that closest, like the mid tier of your missile infantry, and your last one being at 145 and coming in at a pretty hefty cost. Who knows what that tech is going to be like in the campaign, right? Getting Infernal Guard online is probably not going to be very easy. So this kind of shows you that the army is strong. The army's got great individual pieces, but those individual pieces do cost you to actually bring them to the table and deliver a lot of punching power. I mean, the monsters and beasts and artillery are all great things, and getting like the 1-2 punch of bringing a Skull Taker with a Dreadquake mortar, that's a lot of points though, 3350. And this thing still, it can be popped pretty quickly. It does have 100 armor, but it can be knocked out of the battle fast with 2 or 3 returning cannons, because the range is only 380 versus a cannon's range, more often than not, is in the 400 plus area. So consider these things when you are taking a look at the Chaos Dwarfs. Consider these things when you're thinking about playing against the Chaos Dwarfs, because while they are strong, they are not this unbeatable juggernaut. And I think that just kind of something that really needs to be talked about, because a lot of us are really thinking, well, is this going to be too strong? Is this too much power creep? I think there is going to be power creep, but I think it will be palatable. Let's go ahead and press this button and take a look at the Hellforge here, right? So the Hellforge is how we increase our unit caps in the campaign, which is a huge limiting factor of the Chaos Dwarfs. Now, I don't necessarily know how this works precisely. I know that these 2 numbers combine to make this number, which puts us here. So you increase the armaments to increase this. I don't know what like the upward cost of this is. I don't know what these little 5, 7, 10, 13, and 16 do. I don't know if there's like this does this. But I mean, getting these guys to an actual feasible amount in your campaign even is going to be a difficult task. So that power creep does have its own kind of e-brake built into it, where I feel like, yeah, if you get up to 16, 15, 12, 11, 10, 12, the campaign's already popping off on all cylinders. But I don't think that you're going to find yourself in the campaign or in the multiplayer playing Chaos Dwarfs as an auto win. I think that from what it looks like in the campaign footage, the Chaos Dwarfs are a bit of a kind of slower growing faction because of these unit caps that kind of rein you in. Kind of like how the Tomb Kings are, right? The Tomb Kings, you can really go ass wild and get a ton of Khemri, but then you realize that you haven't been spending enough on your infrastructure. You don't have any unit cap bonuses towards the things that actually carry the mid game. And then now you're 30-40 turns in and everything's starting to crush your armies, which are just fielded with a bunch of chaff. So I think that you're going to find that's probably pretty similar here with the Chaos Dwarfs. And when we take a look at them in multiplayer, I still think that there's plenty of ways to build this as a wide army, right? I can really go, like if I was playing Skaven, I think I probably wouldn't go as heavy in the paint with Chaos Dwarf Warriors. Maybe I'd go with more Cutthroats, and I'd start peppering in a little bit of the Glaives or like the Blunderbusses. I think you do have that capability. And I think that's kind of what makes the Chaos Dwarfs very interesting, is they have a kit style army that they can build to being very anti-large, being very anti-infantry. But getting access to strong ranged AP is not very easy for them. They've got artillery machines and they've got the fire glaives, but none of it comes very cheap like it does for, say, the Dark Elves or, say, even Thunderers, which are only a 700 point unit. So that's 200 points cheaper than a blunderbuss, and you get 55 more range. So just consider these things when you take a look at the military and how it actually balances itself out in the game. So I've gone on way too long, way too long, but go ahead and let me know in the comment section below how you are feeling about the Chaos Dwarfs. I am stupid excited to play the campaign and show her off to you guys. Please do jump on over to my Twitch and join in on the fun with the battle system we'll be jumping into today. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.